Hey there, Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Welcome to day 320 of our Get Your Goals Annual Challenge. We are focusing on the spiritual area and aspect of our life today, which is the fourth, or it's not even the fourth. There's no special order to the way we organize our lives, but I'm talking about it today and doing a summary. We're doing a review of, we covered it in April, and as you can see, I've got my content calendar, which tells you the kind of week I've been having. Crazy. We're going to talk about the different topics we talked about. And then our action item today is going to be to look back, think back about, or just think about the spiritual area and aspect of your life, the spiritual goal you set for yourself in April. And does it look like you're going to achieve it by the end of the year? If not, what adjustments, what tweaks do we need to make, or do you need to make? And I know already by looking yesterday at this that I have adjustments and tweaks I need to make, but I'm going to combine it with my contribution goal, which will make it achievable by the end of the year. Otherwise, it was not going to be achievable by the end of the year because so much happened since April, including heart surgery, and my daughter had surgery, and someone we loved and care about passed away. So all kinds of craziness has been happening this year, and I did not put enough systems in place to ensure that I would continue working on that goal no matter what happened around me. And that's a lesson learned for me. Every year I do these challenges and I learn more probably than anybody else that participates in it. Maybe not, because I've been doing challenges for a long time, but I learned something new, every year for sure, but almost every week or every day some days. So what do we talk about with respect to spirituality? In spirituality, the first thing we need to do is, and I think I started to do this in April, the first thing we did was, what are the spiritual well-being and what are some possible goals? But what is the definition of spirituality to us? What does healthy spiritually look like to you? What does it look like to me? We need to decide that before we can determine anything and even set goals and objectives in this or any other area or aspect of our life. Then we hopped into, of course, spiritual core values. And again, I have found over the years of doing the core value exercise that my core values are my core values. They have been since I was a little girl. The things that are important to me, really to this, who's central to my being and important to me, are still the same core values that I have now. And that applies to most areas and aspects of my life. But I like to break it out into each different area of the life framework so that I consider different core values that might be operating at a subconscious level for me that I'm not thinking about. The same is true of our and my and your spiritual thoughts and beliefs. We have thoughts and beliefs running like little computer programs in our subconscious all the time. And we aren't even really consciously aware of the vast majority of them. Just think, if we had to think about all of the things that we do, if we had to think about all the thoughts and all the things we've learned and all the experiences we've had in our lifetime, we'd be frozen in place and we would never be able to make a decision or do anything because our mind would just be overloaded, just like a computer can get overloaded with too much information. So we also talked about and we did the SOAP framework early in the month. Put my coffee down. And of course, our SOAP framework is a process that we use and we install in our subconscious. I would think that by now it's installed in your subconscious as well. And as things come up in your life, your subconscious automatically runs through the SOAP framework. And then it tells you, your brain tells you, okay, did that. This is what I think we should do. But maybe what we should do first is you should pay attention to this thing consciously because it's a bigger deal than you're thinking it is. Or it's limiting beliefs or conflicting beliefs bumping heads against each other. And I could give examples of that, but I think it's better if you come up with what is my own example of where I have one belief about spirit that's kind of spiritually related, and another belief, maybe it's not spiritual related, maybe it's business related, and the two conflict. And so whichever one's strongest at the time will take precedence and determine how you act. So that's your subconscious telling you, okay, wait a minute, you need to pay attention to this and you need to decide on purpose what's more important, your business profits or your spiritual and core beliefs and values, if that makes sense. So then we picked one thing that we wanted to improve with respect to our spirituality, and we applied the SOAP framework to that. I like to apply the SOAP framework to a problem, a challenge, an obstacle, a setback, something that I want to improve in that area. But it's also, if you notice, all four of these steps are also a part of our goal process. I wonder how and why that is. So we ran and we jumped into our SOAP framework. And again, I was still doing, and I still do a tool. I recommend a tool with the SOAP framework. So with the S, the story, our current and desired story, we did the who, what, where, when, why, and how. I call it the journalistic framework because that's how I was originally exposed to it. I think some people call it the 5 W's or whatever. There's also another name for it, which is eluding me right now. Then we talked about the options. What options do we have in order to improve this spiritual area of our life? And we talked about 10 different types of brainstorming there. So if you're looking for different ways to brainstorm, that's a great day. It would be April 6th of Guide 17 in the Get Up and Go Challenge private Facebook group. Then we use the urine analysis, my personal favorite, because the name makes me laugh every time I hear it, to analyze the different options that we brainstormed and then pick and analyze 3 of those. We analyze 3. We brainstorm at least 10. We analyze 3, and that means we apply some tool to decide which option should we even look at and take action on first. Then we take action on that. A is all about action, so we need to take action. Soon as we make a decision or a choice in life, we want to do something to solidify that decision, and the best way to do that is to take some sort of action. Then for progress, we talked about measuring frequency, what should we measure, how often, etc. We've talked about experience and intuition, the impact that they have on our spirituality. We talked about our perspective and what we need to do, what we must do, what we want to do, what we have to do, what we should do, and what we ought to do and how that impacts our spiritual goals achievement. We talked about showing, not telling, meaning set an example of your spiritual goals and your spiritual beliefs and values and show the world. Don't just tell them, oh, I'm this awesome person because I gave money to this charity and brag it up on social media. Actually, just do stuff and know that you don't have to tell everybody about it. If you know, that's the most important thing. Sometimes you tell people to inspire them, but you don't have to tell people everything. Expectations of ourselves and others we talked about. We talked about your life's purpose. We talked about, meaning your and your practices and rituals. What practices and habits and rituals do you use and have within this area of spirituality? And are there some you can tweak to get more value out of, that can have a more positive impact on you? We talked about who does that belong to? And that's a big one when it comes to spirituality. All of our beliefs and thoughts and things come from our experiences and from other people, etc. And so sometimes we'll find that we have a belief or are behaving in a certain way or acting in a certain way because it was gifted to us or we adopted it from someone else. And we ask ourselves, by asking the question, who does that belong to? Number one, we find out where that belief came from, and we consciously choose whether it's still right for us or if it's right for us right now. Because a lot of the beliefs and a lot of the things that we do aren't necessarily valuable to us anymore. Maybe they're just wasting our time or our energy, or they're putting our focus in a direction we don't want it to. I find that a lot with judgment. We talked about grief and judgment and forgiveness. We talked about your soul and your spirit. We talked about spiritual connection. We talked about lessons learned in life, in this whole area of our life. We used the lifeline exercise. We did that again. We added our spiritual high and low points and we rated, okay, based on these experiences and these things that have happened in my life, what was going on with me spiritually? Was I really, really spiritual and practicing and feeling good about that? Or was I kind of down in the dumps and I had lost track of some of the spiritual practices and things that I usually do? And then we talked about ascension. What's the, growth and ascension? And then, of course, we hop into our 7-step goal process. Now, what I was going to do during this, and I'm going to be perfectly honest, I did not do it yet. I was going to start a business. Well, and I already have these, right? So I guess I let myself off the hook when life got super duper busy this spring. But I was going to start either a nonprofit or a business that was all about helping other people and benefiting them, which is usually what a nonprofit does. It's like, okay, We cover our overhead, and everything else goes to the people that we're here to help. And I don't know. Like I said, I'm making excuses, but the truth is life gets in the way sometimes, and some of our goals get left behind or they get rescheduled for a later time. So during contribution in October, I said, hey, I'm going to start a nonprofit to help the blind. So now I'm going to combine those two so that I can get that goal and this goal accomplished by the end of the year. I know it's not really cheating. It's how do you get the results that you want using what you've got. I need my calendar for tomorrow. So that was our topics. And then of course, all the steps that we use in our process. So like I just did, do a review of your goal, and hopefully you've done yours and you're going to achieve it, or you've already achieved it this year. Some goals in different areas and aspects of my life I've already achieved. So that gives me extra time to work on this and my contribution one that I otherwise wouldn't have had. All right, any questions about this? Guess what? Write up Guide 17, the Get Up and Go Challenge private Facebook group. Again, last year's annual challenge, all the videos are in there. This year's annual challenge, Guide 16, all the videos are in there. Guide 17, starting in February with emotional area and aspect of our life, I started to do a write-up with ChatGPT. It is not edited. I do not want feedback about, oh, the writing's terrible, because I didn't do it. It's done by an AI, artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, because I was just playing with that to see if it was going to add any value or if it helped me to research any of the topics that we're talking about during the challenge. So it's an experiment. Take it as a grain of salt, but there's some really good information in there. I've gotten some really good nuggets or some review of things that I'd forgotten about. And so it's just another resource on each of the different topics that we talk about every day, except for January. I didn't do January because I didn't start doing it until February. All right, that's it. If I can help you in any way, ask. If you've got any comments, questions, concerns, hit me up. Easy to find me. You can always hit me through a Voxer app, which is a walkie-talkie app, which is secretly, not very secretly, because I tell people that I work with and then I consult with, etc., and friends and family. The best way to get me, if you really want my attention, is to not text me or leave comments, although I like comments under the videos because then everybody gets the answer to the question. You can just Voxer me. If it's something personal, you got a quick question, push the button, walkie-talkie, pajamagrandma@gmail.com is my handle for that. All right, have an awesome day, and I'll, of course, be with you tomorrow.